Good afternoon. I'm here with Alex Smith, our Assistant Corporation Counsel, and Robert Nathan Isaacs, one of the attorneys working on the case for the City of Middletown. I've called this press conference today to bring you up to date on the lawsuit brought by the Village of Kiryas Joel against Orange County and the City of Middletown regarding the Indigo Reservoir site. There have been some significant changes since that time, making this press conference even more timely. As you know, the Village of Kiryas Joel challenged the easement agreement between the city and Orange County regarding the Indigo Reservoir site. The village claimed that they were facing, quote, a water emergency, their words, and that the Indigo water should have been made available to them as well. They also challenged our environmental analysis under SECRA, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and said that we, the City of Middletown, did not do that properly. We believed at that time that their lawsuit was without merit and filed a motion to dismiss on a number of grounds, including standing, statute of limitations, and the accuracy of our environmental analysis. We also claimed another reason to dismiss the lawsuit, and we just recently became aware of it. Kiryas Joel, in suing the city and the county over the Indigo agreement, claimed that it was harmed by the agreement because it is facing, again, a water emergency, again, their words, and that Kiryas Joel should have access to the Indigo water to satisfy its water needs. We found out, however, that when Kiryas Joel recently defended the annexation lawsuit that they were involved in, it stated that it had plenty of water to meet its needs up to at least 2025. In fact, according to Kiryas Joel's own environmental analysis, it has plenty of water even without tapping into the New York City aqueduct. If it tapped into the aqueduct, Kiryas Joel claims it will have plenty of water to satisfy its needs beyond 2025. That statement is extremely significant. Supreme Court Justice Walsh relied on the village's assertion that it had plenty of water and found that the annexation would not have any adverse effect on water supply, wastewater production, and sewers. The justice specifically stated in the decision that, quote, the village board made findings that it had capacity to meet the future water needs once it was connected to the aqueduct, which was anticipated in 2017. Kiryas Joel either lied in defending the annexation lawsuit, or it's lying in the lawsuit against the City of Middletown, the county, over the Indigo Reservoir, Indigo water. How can Kiryas Joel claim it's under a, quote, water emergency when it told the court in the annexation lawsuit that it had more than sufficient water supply for its residents to accommodate continued growth beyond the 2025 GEIS study period? Something is fishy here, especially when Village of Kiryas Joel's clerk told me in an email last night, just 3 days after the city served its court papers, bringing Kiryas Joel's dishonesty to light, that now Kiryas Joel has decided to withdraw its lawsuit against the city. Kiryas Joel is now claiming that it is withdrawing the lawsuit because the county recently finally released all the necessary permits to complete our vital water project, our water pipeline project, even though, as I understand it, the village has had its permits since almost a year ago, I believe approximately a year ago. Is it a coincidence that Kiryas Joel is now terminating its lawsuit against the city? I don't think so. I think they are doing so because we unveiled their stunning display of dishonesty in either their annexation court papers or in the papers they filed against us in the City of Middletown. We caught them in a lie, and now they are trying to back out of it. In the meantime, the city has had to spend thousands of dollars in legal fees and countless hours defending the city against Kiryas Joel's frivolous, perhaps even fraudulent lawsuit. We're assessing our own options as a city to determine what we would do next. In the meantime, because of the village's stunning display of dishonesty, I am urging the county and the other municipalities involved in the annexation lawsuit, which include the towns of Woodbury, Cornwall, Blooming Grove, and Chester, and the villages of South Blooming Grove, Monroe, Woodbury, Harriman, and Cornwall on the Hudson, to ask Justice Walsh to reopen and reconsider the court's finding in the annexation case. Our court system should not be used to advance someone's frivolous agenda or as a defense to other actions. The system should only be used to prevent or address real harm and real issues. Kiryas Joel has done the opposite here, and that's a shame. We are now open for questions.
Have you had any conversations with any of the other municipalities that you collaboration here? Whether the attorneys believe that that's possible to reopen this annexation lawsuit?
Yes, the towns and the county could do it in a form of a motion to renew the previous argument now that this new information has come to light.
When you say explore your options, you say possibly to recoup legal expenses
That's one option, yes.
and others?
Yeah.
What would they do?
Oh, the others?
Yeah.
It's mostly, first we have to make sure that they're going to withdraw the lawsuit. Then we'll see if we should try to recoup our legal expenses, any costs we had to incur.
They haven't done it. They said they.
That's right. That's right. They haven't done it yet.
The memorandum of law that you guys submitted in this case, when was that submitted?
On Monday.
And they said today that they might
No.
withdraw this lawsuit
Last night.
Last night they sent an email.
last night.
And this is
Godali.
Godali.
When did they file the lawsuit, the original lawsuit against the city?
I would say it was the first or second week of February.
How serious do you think this is? I mean, which one do you think is right, and how serious do you think it is?
Well, I think it's very serious. I mean, you can't say, as the mayor just said, you can't say one thing to one Supreme Court judge and use it to get a favorable decision in an important case. The annexation lawsuit is an important case for the people of that part of the county, and then say pretty much exactly the opposite to another judge in a different lawsuit suing other members of Orange County, other municipalities.
And the other judge was Slovak.
No, Judge Walsh handled the annexation. Judge Scortino is handling this case.
When you got this email yesterday saying we're going to drop the lawsuit, I mean, you guys could have decided not to have a press conference here, not, and kind of leave it alone and not urge these other municipalities to do what you're saying here. Why do you feel it's important to do this?
Well, for a couple reasons. One is, I think my last line dealt with the use of the courts. And using the courts, they used the city of Middletown to advance their agenda in another part of the county. That was admitted to by Mr. Savagin Godali, the village clerk, when immediately after filing the lawsuit, he sent an email to me stating that they would withdraw the lawsuit if the city was to, in any way, capable of influencing the county and the other towns and pushing along their water pipeline and whatever permitting is necessary. That should never be done, trying to pit one government against the other. The city of Middletown had no involvement in the annexation lawsuit. I think at the time we pointed out very clearly that Kiryas Joel was going down the wrong path by doing that. And I think they have to be exposed for making this making misrepresentations to the court, either one or the other. And it can't be just looked over. It has to be exposed to not only the public, but to the justice system, that the judges need to know what they did, because it affects maybe not only the annexation case, but affects this case also, and maybe future cases where people will look at them in a different way, saying, can we believe what they're saying? And I think that's been part of the problem throughout the whole process on the annexation. And So it's cast a lot of doubt on the credibility of the village leadership. And we're not talking about the village either. We're talking about the leadership in the village. And I've had conversations with many different groups within the village and people who are really angry about where the village leadership is taking Kiryas Joel. So this is not a bang at the people in Kiryas Joel, but it reflects the leadership in Kiryas Joel. And when you lie to the court, it needs to be exposed.
Which one do you think is true, though? Do you think they have enough water? Do you think they not?
I don't know. Oh, well, we're making the argument that even if they don't have enough water, that the Indigo is 32 miles away, has no bearing on them whatsoever. They have the aqueduct coming. They could be lying. The problem, once you start lying, you can't believe anything they say to either of the courts. So they might be wrong in both cases. But the point is that they filed this lawsuit and immediately tried to use the lawsuit as leverage against the city to get involved politically and supporting their position on the use of the water pipeline. And we immediately responded that we are not going to be blackmailed by Kiryas Joel. And that, I think the term we used was, if they want war, we're going to give them war. And so that's what we're doing. We're giving it back to them in a manner that they deserve, and also in a way that protects not only Middletown from future litigation such as this, but also gives the southern part of the county the opportunity to relook or take another look at the annexation procedure. How many lies did they tell in the annexation procedure, that process that haven't been exposed at this point?
You claim that PJ said that they had a water emergency. Can you talk a little bit about what that emergency was?
Well, they didn't really explain it thoroughly. They just kept on using, they repeated in their papers, water emergency, and therefore the city and the county had no right to enter into an easement agreement that might prevent Kiryas Joel from accessing Indigo Reservoir water. So no, the answer to your question is they never fully explained what they meant by that. They didn't quantify it in any way.
But they still wanted to use this reservoir that was 32 miles away from
Yes, and the main argument in our defense of the lawsuit was they don't have standing to do that. They have no right to access Indigo Reservoir water.
Do they want to tap it off your pipeline, or do they want to?
No, that,
What your pipe is going to Amy's Kitchen and then say, let's extend it, or?
no, that they didn't put that in any of the papers. But the big question is, how would they get water from 32 miles away down to Kiryas Joel with the different elevations? It was a crazy allegation and assertion to make in the first place. But the point being is that the basis of their whole suit appeared to be the use of the courts to influence, to use Middletown's influence, whatever we have with the other county, with the Orange County and the other towns, to try to get them to stop whatever opposition to the pipeline or to the annexation that's going on down in the southern part of the county. When we refused that, we called them up in the court papers on Monday. We filed, and we exposed what the big lie is, the big lie coming out of KJ. And to me, that's the most significant thing, telling a court, one thing, and telling another court just completely the opposite, but in between, trying to use political influence to sway a municipality from changing its mind. And we were not involved in the annexation lawsuit, nor should we be. We're not contiguous to Kiryas Joel, but they decided to get involved in this water agreement with the city of Middletown that's going to benefit the town of Goshen, benefit the town of Wawayanda, and it appeared they were trying to use whatever influence they had along with the courts. Influence is one thing, but when you use the courts and lie to the courts, that's a whole different thing, and they need to be exposed for that dishonesty.
Do you mind just briefly saying again what the city's plans are for Indigo, and just so people understand,
Sure.
the significance of this lawsuit, how it's important?
Well, we call it the Indigo Reservoir site because that's always been the dream for 50 years, is to develop a reservoir there. There's a creek that goes through this 1,100-acre county-owned property. The city has used it for flood skimming, water skimming over the years. to supplement during droughts. We've had deals with the county. We've always sought to make it a permanent water resource. There are also wells on the site. We entered into an agreement with the county that we could draw after the appropriate SECRA process and determination of what water, how much water is there, no impacts on Greenville or other people's wells, and after the whole environmental process we go through, that we could draw up to 1 million gallons of water a day from that. We also have an agreement with the county that, into somewhat of a water sharing agreement with Wawayanda, and where we can, part two of the Indigo project, if it goes through, if there's adequate water, would be to supply up to 1 million gallons a day of water for commercial and industrial use along 17M. We also have, the county has the option of designating 375,000 gallons of that water for an economic development project, which appears to be Amy's. And the city would get that water for free, and we would then process and distribute it to Amy's and use it for the creation of 600-700 jobs in the area. The balance of that water would be for the city's use to sell or to use within the corporate boundaries of the city. So basically, it increases our safe yield. We are the only community that can distribute the water. It's adjacent to our reservoir system. The county has done studies in the past on whether it would be cost-effective for other municipalities or the county to move that water off of Indigo. Impossible, not cost-effective. So it's logical that the city and the county entered into a permanent agreement.
So how do you plan on moving forward with this? I know or how you or the county plans on moving forward with this. If they want more, we'll give them more. What does that mean?
If they, Kiryas Joel, well, if they want to drive trucks up here and buy water from us, we certainly would entertain it, that's for sure. We're not running a pipeline 32 miles of Kiryas Joel. It's ridiculous. And by their own statement, they don't need it. So if they do need it, then they lied to the judge in the Justice Walsh in the first case, the annexation case. And that's why we're encouraging the communities in the southern part of the county to possibly reopen the case and see if they did in fact lie. Review their environmental submissions, and if they did lie, then I think it changes the whole annexation issue. If they didn't lie, and they do have a water emergency, and they want to buy water from us, like any other, I'd certainly entertain an offer for them to buy water from the city of Middletown and truck it down to them if they want. They have to pay for it. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think that way, since they have, nobody is running a municipality based on trucked-in water. I mean, it's impossible to sustain.
I mean, PJ has tried to say that before, that they are trucking in water.
They are, temporarily,
Yeah.
but they also have the Cornwall well that they just went through. But that's not what the representations to the court was. The representations to the court were that we have adequate water through 2025, and that beyond 2025, once we tap into the aqueduct pipeline, even more so. And they also said that they dropped the case, or they're dropping the case, because they recently were given the permits. The permits were issued March of 2016. So they filed this case knowing that they had the permits in hand, and they misrepresented that to all of us. Yep.
Jim, you'd asked about the trucking in of water. In the environmental impact statements to Judge Walsh in the annexation petition, they stated that they had trucked in water on very rare occasions. So they very much, in the statements to that judge, downplayed this trucking in of water.
And it only makes sense that if you do have a water emergency, why are you going to build high-density housing to add to the 28,000 people, 30,000 people that they have there? If they don't have the adequate resources, then they have to go out and get the resources. And it's the water resource 32 miles away is not the answer to them. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.